I had an experience some years ago. I think it was in 1990, August of 1990. It happened to be with my wife. We had the good fortune of spending 6 days in the Boundary Waters together, and it happened to fall over her birthday, which is August 8th. And I had, as so many times, decided to thwart a long portage by walking upstream and making our own little route out of the day. And we were thwarting a 300-plus rod portage, which is a pretty extensive portage, and so I thought we could take some time off of it. She wasn't real comfortable with that situation, but we agreed to follow on and do it. And we happened to be going upstream on the Basswood River instead of downstream, and I didn't realize that until we had kind of gotten into it and committed. But the portage consisted of pushing the canoe up a series of small falls and kind of lining around some rapids, and we made our way. At some points had to take bags out of the canoe and fishing rods and whatever else miscellaneous gear that we had, and make our own paths through the woods, which proved to be pretty tough. As you know, if you've spent some time in the Boundary Waters, it's pretty thick forest. And as we made our way through, I'd go up maybe 50 rods or so, and with the canoe, and then come back and see how Amy's progress was. And we probably spent three and a half, 4 hours. And when we started this adventure, it was right around lunchtime. So 2 hours into it, the frowns and the long faces started to show up and remind you that it was her birthday. And as we neared the end, the tears started to flow a little bit. And when I'd come back and I'd reassure and try and say, "Come on, honey, this is a good day, and any day in the Boundary Waters is a good day, no matter what the adversity or inclemency it is." And as we showed up toward the headwaters where the river begins from a larger body of water, we just finished, kind of had come out into the opening. There was a lot of relief and kind of soothing wounds in the water, kind of scratched up and so on and so forth. And we were just sitting silently and just kind of soaking it all in as we rested before we make our way out into the big water and find a campsite. And it just seemed like, oh man, we might have wasted a whole bunch of time. And all of a sudden, we started to hear some ruckus and racket coming from what looked like an old overgrown beaver lodge off into the side of this little nook where we were sitting. And we started hearing these little chattering sounds, and sure enough, the grass was moving, and we both were keenly interested in what was going on there. And all of a sudden, some otters started showing up and moving around and frolicking, literally playing with one another on top of the beaver lodge and around. And then they didn't know we were there at first, and then we kind of decided, we started moving around, and then they realized we were there, and didn't seem fearful or intimidated by our presence at all. We couldn't have been more than, 30 yards away from them. We were pretty close to them, so we could watch them. So we decided it was time to move on, and we had some we kind of felt like that was a neat way to end that trying experience. And as we loaded the canoe, the otters kind of really watched us. We made a few more noises as we were putting things in, got in the boat, and kind of eased our way over closer, and were able to get a couple of photographs, which was really neat. We still have. And the bay was sort of a long, narrow bay, and as we paddled, we weren't in any hurry. We knew that we were going to find a campsite. The sun was starting to set, and it was really quite peaceful. And as we paddled, we continued to look back and watch the otters, and it was just amazing. The three of them, it was as if they were escorting us out of the bay and kind of saying farewell. The three, if you've ever watched otters swim, it's like a periscope. Their head sticks up, and they just kind of move along this way. And well, all three were right next to one another, kind of swimming along. And we paddled real slow. We weren't in a hurry because we were just marveling at this experience, and I'm not sure why it was happening, but we were happy by it nonetheless. And as we just about turned around the corner, we looked back, and there was a big sloping piece of granite, a rock of some sort that that was there, and the otters all climbed up on that, and three of them sat. The three otters that were watching us sat, and just kind of, it was like they were just watching, and if they had, you know, the will to do, they were saying, you know, have a good day, let the rest of the day be what it may, and be good. And so we turned around the corner, and sure enough, there's a gorgeous campsite right there. We had everything kind of all laid out inside. Amy decided we put up the tent as we do. We kind of get everything dialed in first, and then worry about dinner after that. And she said, "I'm going to go get some rest." I went in and took a rest. And right about dusk, when the mosquitoes start to really come out, I had packed a brownie mix in our packing of food, and thought I'm going to surprise her, making her a little cake, brownie quasi cake kind of thing. And as I forded mosquitoes and tried to make this cake on a sputtering stove, and had a little fire on top of the pot lid, and had the baking kind of thing going on, I was just absolutely overwhelmed by mosquitoes. I mean, it was just one of those nights where mosquitoes are just as thick as you can ever imagine. And right as I had finished everything up, and I thought, okay, I'm going to surprise her, I said, "Amy!" And I didn't get a response. "Amy!" No response. I thought, okay, I'll just start singing "Happy Birthday." And as I cracked into "Happy Birthday," I just started singing the little birthday ditty as I walked over, and I got to the vestibule of the tent, thought I heard something, stopped singing, and sure enough, there was she snoring away, and so the birthday adventure kind of ended in that way. But that was a story that sticks in my memory quite well, as a situation where the Boundary Waters is a magical place in a lot of different ways, and I think it was just a story that was fond for me. I had a lot of fond memories about. I wanted to share that.